All right, guys, thank you so much. Welcome to Behind the Veil. We're just gonna get started here just in a few moments. We're gonna start admitting our audience into the Zoom room. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, thank you so much for being a part of this week's Behind the Veil. I'm super excited to say hi to a bunch of people. Now, so if you're coming into the room and I stop your video, I apologize because we are going on Facebook Live. And so I'm assuming not everybody wants to be seen on Facebook Live. And then we'll just go from there, right? All right, so if you're just joining us, again, thank you for following us on Facebook Live. We are, this is a weekly program that we're doing, and just to help, brides and the wedding in general. I started this series as a way for those that don't have a wedding planner or are unsure about how to move forward in this weird world, that they would find a place to find some answers. And so hopefully we do that for you. First, I'd like to introduce Marci Guttenberg. Marci is with an affair to remember by Marci, and she is an invitation expert. So hello, Marci, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me, Keith. I have been in the industry for over 30 years, and I've had my current business now for over 13 years, actually 13 years this month. So it's very exciting. I do invitations, favors, and accessories. And I came from the side of the catering and event world previous to having my business. So I've kind of seen a little bit of the gamut of everything in the industry, just from different perspectives.
Excellent. And we have several questions about how to go green. So that's something that we'll talk about later. Nichole, hello, Nichole with CLE Events. So Nichole is owner of CLE Events, which I say CLE Events, and she is a design expert and a rental facility for especially vintage type furniture, but she figures out a way to make it very current. So I'd like to say hello, Nichole.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us again, Keith. We love being on with you. CLE Events or CLE Events, we are a decor company, and we do love to pay homage to the past and about talking about keeping it green. We love to reuse and repurpose and reimagine things, so we keep their history alive and keep them out of the landfills and being destroyed. So we are a decor company. We do all kinds of stuff, not just vintage. We do custom creations all the time, but we would love to have you come and take a look one day and see maybe how we can make your event very special.
Awesome. And obviously a big friend of mine. We've been doing business for many years, Marci as well, and Tyler as well. So I love having all of you on because I know that we're going to get some real feedback, some true participation. Tyler is new to our panel. We love Tyler. Tyler Black is the owner of Cache Events. He is a florist and a designer extraordinaire. He doesn't just work in Florida, but he goes all over the country doing some really incredible stuff, but has kind of a very straight talking kind of viewpoint, which I love. So Tyler, tell us a little bit about you and your company.
Well, thank you, Keith. Yes, I'm a designer that started back in 1992, and I've probably been involved in just about every gamut of event design and planning and development. So I'm excited to talk to you guys today about what we're doing, going forward in this environment.
Yeah, because it's a scary environment, as we all know. And I think and that's why I'm going to introduce Brooke Logan Stoner, who is actually my assistant and an event manager for me and the weddings that I do. So Brooke, tell me a little bit about you and kind of what you're seeing just on the, day-to-day level of what people are experiencing.
Hi, everybody. Like you said, I'm his assistant. My name is Brooke Logan Stoner. My background mostly comes through hospitality, and I have an extensive history in pageantry. So smoke and mirrors and that kind of thing. Things aren't always what they seem, but we do know how to make things extremely fabulous and look great. So I'm here as I guess the fresh new face and maybe a little bit younger of the group. And I push boundaries. I ask those questions. I do those things that you're not supposed to do. I'm not always politically correct. So I'm the voice of the people that really want to know what's going on. I dish the dirt, I give the tea, that kind of thing. So.
And and honestly, that's what this whole forum is about to have a little bit of fun, talk about some serious subjects, and really give our firsthand account of what the hell is happening in this world, because it is crazy. And it's not just I find that the vendors are all stressed out. It's the clients and the people that are doing weddings. I mean, oh my God, the stress of doing a wedding in this world is just crazy. And that actually leads me to my very first kind of question was, I have a bride that is very worried about, she's been dreaming about this wedding. She was a little girl. And I think we all have those clients that, this has been their dream. I mean, they have been thinking about this forever and ever. And now they have to think about everybody in masks. They have to think about that maybe their grandparents can't come. I mean, oh, my internet connection's unstable. That's nice. That's great. So maybe, what are we going to do in order to make sure that these people can still have their dream? And what are we doing to kind of adjust that? I'm going to go to Tyler for this, because I think, Tyler, you're in the scene doing the design work. I mean, what are you doing currently to, help facilitate some of these worries?
Well, several things. One of the things that's really major that I'm doing now, because for me, in our company, I have a feeling that going forward, weddings are going to be a little bit downsized as far as flowers and stuff. I think we're going to have more tables, but less hurrah, because you're going to have so much more tables. So we're kind of reinventing another side of our business. We used to have a video production side of our company, and we're teamed up with some of these professionals that we used to work with, and we're going to create a professionally done live stream service.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to, you can now do, you can still have that same wow look on a smaller scale and broadcast to those grandparents and families that are a little scared to come to the events and so forth. And still, now they can pick unique venues, they can pick unique locations, maybe the location they met or something like that, to get married. I was talking to a bride the other day, and she lives in a building in Aventura, and they have an amazing view from the rooftop. So we're considering doing the ceremony there, and then around Christmas doing the actual reception. So she would have this amazing view. We can make it look amazing, and then, reinvent the reception later. Another thing is, just like I just mentioned, is locations. I'm working with another bride right now that has chosen to go to a campground.
Right.
And it's really interesting, because rather than have the one day big event that she had already planned, she is now going to make it a whole weekend event up in an Ocala area. Right. And she's getting these glam tents, and so all of her wedding party are going to be in this big circle around an area where they're going to have the ceremony. And these tents are going to be decorated with flowers all around the entrance of the tents. And families can come and stay in. There's enough room that everyone can be distanced.
So I'm going to pull up a picture really quick, just so that way, if you guys can see that. And this is a tented space. So we're doing multiple tents all the way around, actually an open area in the middle, but everybody has kind of their section, if you can see that. Can you guys see that? Do I need to enlarge that? Are you good?
No, it looks good.
Beautiful.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And so the reason I brought this picture up is because, Tyler, first of all, you were just talking about something kind of like this. And I'm assuming that when you say tent, you mean a huge tent that would cover all of these. But I think this also goes into seating, like the options for seating. Nichole, what do you like? I mean, look at the sectionals and stuff.
Yeah, no, I love this. I love the mix and match. I hate when everything is matchy. Who says that your wedding has to have all the exact same chairs and all the exact same tablecloths? I mean, that's just boring. So I love this. You've got little stool seating, you've got some vintage furniture style seating, you've got high top seating. Love it. And then you've got your traditional. Yeah, absolutely. It's gorgeous.
right? And I feel like that goes to the idea of like how to reimagine your wedding. And
Mhm.
sometimes, you know, the old idea of, you know, 10 rounds of 10 in a
Right.
ballroom with a stage, I think sometimes we have to figure out like, what do we do with that? You know, and I think that now it's the time to not sugarcoat stuff. You know, it's the time to like say, look, here are your options and here are the possibilities and work on that. I mean, Brooke, what do you think? How do you think people are going to handle that?
Well, I think here's my thing with that. I mean, because I mean, how many weddings and events that we do? We have open bar, and when you're drinking and you're getting a little full and having a great time, you're not really thinking about that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the only thing I worry about is when you're cocktailed, you're having fun, as you're supposed to do. That's what weddings are all about. It's a celebration. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at that point because, you know, it's like you're going to have to police it. I mean, it's going to be drama to a certain extent. Not so much, when I say drama, I mean, it's like for you and for I and for any of the staff that's there, we're going to have to be like watching what's going on. And then there's going to be that conversation and on the dot, because I'm going to give it to you. Like, you're going to have, you get the drunk this or the drunk that. And then we have to be the police, and they are going to throw a fit.
I saw something interesting at an event recently, right? Actually, before the shutdown, which would work kind of to go to Brooke's idea of, you know, not having people go to the bars. They actually had at the tables, they had bottles of wine for each like couple of guests. So
that's a good idea.
So like
much safer,
they had a bottle of wine and it had a tag on it that said, "This is for Mr. and Mrs. Smith." And it was like, so maybe people like red, maybe people like white, maybe people like champagne. So you could actually have a couple bottles of wine at a table of red and white that's shared with that table. And you don't have people going up to bars. And there's also the option of just having more bars instead of just one bar. So people are conglomerating around one area.
So I'm going to show you this picture. So this, I think, is the picture that everybody is worried about having at their wedding.
That's awful. Oh my God.
Right?
Why bother? Those masks aren't doing anything anyways.
No.
I mean,
and nines are not. That's not it.
But to be honest, so when a bride talks to me about this kind of thing, I mean, and she worries about this fear, this is the picture I envision, like that is in her head, like, oh my God, this is what's going to happen to my wedding. You know, I know it's awful. How do we keep that from happening?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. We get the N9 masks that have several friends, and I believe Diva and Thomas Mitchell's watching. I will send you 200 masks, honey. Stone them, make them fabulous. We'll put them in rhinestones. We'll make them sickening. You know, if we're going to have to do masks, let's do it in style. That's what we do. Put it in drag, baby. Smoking mirrors. So, I mean, if we have to do it, let's do it right. You know, what I'm concerned about is, and I love the idea, Nichole, with the champagne option, the red and the white, at the table. That's great, but unfortunately, what that does for Keith and our business is the level of professionalism and table service and what we pride ourselves in, and the hotels that we work for. We're always in five-star rather. And resorts and such, that's going to kind of cut in a little bit into that level of service that we provide. So, but I would sacrifice a little bit of that just so that people can still have their day and to keep everybody safe and that kind of thing. So I would definitely be on board with that.
So here's the thing. Like, I put up a picture of a bride with a matching mask. What are your thoughts? Marci, tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm kind of like, why would she, the bride, wear a mask? Number one, she's going to be at the front with her fiance getting married. They're the prime people, and why everybody is there celebrating.
Right.
I think the first thing that people need to do is they need to breathe, take a step back, think about it, and be a little bit more flexible than maybe the image that you thought it was going to be. And you can still have a beautiful affair. As far as you want your guest, first and foremost, to feel comfortable, and you want to feel kind of put a little bit of a normalcy into it. So there's going to be some seating arrangements. where you'll probably be seated with the people that you live with, smaller tables, less people at the table. There's going to be, as you said, there's going to be a lot of interactive environments for people to
Right.
sit in smaller groups. When I say interactive, I'm sorry, I mean little vignettes, little areas for people to sit separately from one another at a socially distant, safe place. As
So
far as
I'm gonna show you this mask really quick. So look at this. I love this. I mean, I feel like, you know, obviously these are two beautiful women, but I love the idea that, you know, they've added a little fun into the mask, and that, you know, maybe this is a fun way to bring people into the idea of social distancing and wearing masks at a wedding. I mean, thoughts?
exactly, embrace it a little bit, bring levity to the situation is probably the best way to embrace it.
Well, okay. So Nichole, what do you think about that mask? I mean, is that something you could see that you could figure out a way to make that super fun and interesting?
Yeah, I mean, there's some really beautiful
No?
masks out there. I've seen some designer ones, I've seen some lace and everything. I don't know about the black one. I mean, that's not, but I mean, being up here in Volusia County where things have been open for a couple of weeks, people are really maintaining their distance, and I imagine people will do so at a wedding too. I mean, there will be always people who kind of crowd your space, you know, and you're just going to have to be able to politely say, hey,
Right.
back the fuck up. Sorry, did I say that? Right. But I mean, most people are pretty
You can say
respectful
that.
because
I think you can say that on here. Yeah.
but, so, I mean, I think
I
most
love
people
a
are
good
pretty
Christian
respectful of other
tongue.
people. You know?
Well, I think
people
that,
are
you know,
pretty
one of the things
respectful of
is,
other
one of
people's
the things
space,
I've been telling people. Yeah. So one of the things I've been telling people is that, you know, masks are here to stay. They're never going to go away. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in now. And either we embrace the idea and figure out a way to make it a part of the wedding and have some levity, or we figure out how to expand the space in order to ensure that, you know, we can make sure that people have enough distance between them and the person that they're sitting next to. Right. So, I mean, Tyler and Nichole, you guys are both experts in the decor field. I mean, what are some options for people?
Well, I'm working on a wedding now that is going to be in Oklahoma next month, and they moved the venue to an equestrian center that had a large, huge barn. It's actually all made out of wood and everything. And the idea behind that was the fact that it could hold up to 400 people. They only have 150 people, but we're going to do smaller tables according to the guest list of the family sizes, as we just talked about. But as decor wise, we are going to simplify it. We're going to do, you know, very, like, we go out in the prairie and pick up bouquets of flowers and put them in mason jars. They're going kind of for that chic look, you know, the I would say the redneck chic, I guess in Oklahoma is how we would call it.
Hold on, I think I have a picture of like what you're talking about. I think I found the picture so that way people understand that, you know, this is what I think you're talking about. Yeah, something a little bit like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're going a little more simple. She had talked about, you know, all of her friends were getting married in big venues, you know, the traditional stuff, and she's got the beautiful dress and the whole deal, but she's going to put on cowboy boots, and we're going to spread this thing out over the acreage and just make it work.
Right.
She can still have the amount of guests that she wanted, but now we can spread it out. They have a huge area that, you know, for the dance floor, and we're kind of just pulling together. One of the reasons why they called me to go to Oklahoma is because they can't get the product in Oklahoma right now. We're here in Miami, we can still get the products in. So I'm having it shipped, you know, to Oklahoma, and then we're going to go there and hand tie all these flowers and just make an amazing wedding in like 2 days.
Well, but you know, and talk about product. I mean, those chairs that we just saw, those are, you know, something that you can get at Events on the Loose with like Kelly Murphy. She has those kind of chairs, and I think that, you know, the whole world is actually going a little bit more green in general.
Mhm.
I think the idea that companies and corporations shut down for 9 weeks at this point, and that all of a sudden you're able to see the top of mountains, and that, you know, the pollution cloud that was over Tokyo and over some of these Chinese cities like reduced dramatically. And I think that the idea that, you know, making my wedding green actually has an effect on the environment, I feel like a lot more people can relate to that now, because they're like,
Right.
look what happened in just 9 weeks.
I think
Right?
you're
Exactly.
definitely going to be
Tyler's
seeing-
that kind yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
Nichole, go
and
ahead.
one of the
Sorry. Sorry, Nichole, you go ahead. You were
I
about
was
to
just
say.
gonna say, you're definitely gonna see a lot more open air events, or like you said, barns, bigger tents, things where there's open air, where there's more breathing room for people and more outside air access. That's definitely, you know, where it seems to be going, where people feel more comfortable in that environment and where you can spread out a bit more and not feel so on top of each other as in a ballroom.
exactly.
Well, and I think that as we go green, some of the things that, you know, people are going to be looking at is, you know, invitations and coming up with new ways to do invites that are green. I mean, and again, we're going back to the idea of how are we reimagining our lives, our world, our wedding. And, you know, we're slowly going through the process of expanding the space, using more natural materials, using recyclable materials, you know, those one-off. And I'll get right back to you, Marci, because I wanted to just show one thing really quick, is that, you know, the idea that, you know, we may have to go to one-use silverware doesn't have to be so horrible, because there are things like this, which let me pull up. Sorry, as I take my time. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, you know, you're going to see a lot more stuff like this being used that is like bamboo.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, what do you guys think
Yeah,
about
bamboo's great.
Actually, I
That's
like
great.
that actually. It's cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bamboo's
I don't know about the dropping. That looks like I could make that into scrambled eggs in the corner, and I'm not a sushi girl, but I mean, I kind of like it. It's working.
Yeah, so Tyler, what do you think about this? You said you're
Yes,
using this?
I've actually done it last year. We did a green event, a wedding actually, that we used all bamboo cutlery, bamboo plates, and also for my dad's memorial, I used all bamboo. I did all the plates and everything in the natural wood, the disposable wood. It was very interesting and it was quite beautiful.
Well, and this is the thing, is that these are all single-use items that you're looking at, but they're also 100% recyclable. So I think that there's a way to make sure that we're not, you know, cross-infecting and paying attention to the environment and ensuring that our guests stay safe. And I think this is a great way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
we were using bamboo at the casino for years. It's a great thing when you've got, you know, with people and keeping it green and clean.
Green and clean, I love that.
Green and clean, I like that.
Right, but the thing is that, you know, this even goes to invitations. And so, Marci, I'm actually going to pull up a couple of ideas of like placemats, invitations, so that you can take a look at this. Just because, again, how we're rethinking our world is coming up to a lot of, like, you know, coming up with imaginative stuff like this.
Yes,
Oh,
I mean,
I
you
love
have,
that.
in
I
here
love
you
that.
have, I
That's
see a
great.
lot of woods, leaves. You can enhance it by using different ink colors, or maybe even like you see on the leaf with some gold foil, which is very hot right now. But really, I mean, ultimately, you really just want to embrace the items that we're able to use at this point, rather than shun away from them, because we are living in a different world right now where we're having to reimagine things, and better to embrace it and propel forward than try to ignore the issue that we're having to deal with. We
Right.
never had to deal with this before. So, you know, again, embrace the situation, but then expand on it. This right here is a plantable invitation. I love plantable invitations. You can, after the use of the invitation, your guests can plant them, and then they'll turn into, typically there'll be wildflowers, seeds in there. So that's a beautiful way. And then they have a little memento to keep, to save from your wedding.
Right, 100%, because then that may, because everybody always says, oh, I'm just going to throw away the invitation. I'm just going to throw away the save the date. And I love the idea of it combining. You're both being green, and there's a lot of times you can get that paper fairly inexpensive in order to do your printing.
The other part is that people say yes. People will say, you're just going to throw away the invitation. However, you are going to, the same can be held true for almost everything else for that evening. You have something for that one evening. Your invitation is the first prelude to everything at your wedding. So it's the first item that they get a glimpse of what your affair is going to look like. So you want that to have an impact so that when they come to your wedding, they know.
Well, okay, so, when people are talking about saving money, and especially in this world where all of a sudden the number of guests is dropping dramatically, and they still have, minimums to meet and stuff, unfortunately, I feel like invitations tends to be the very first thing that they go, okay, what can we do in order to save money on the invitations? I mean, how do you respond to something like that?
There are so many options for invitations. You can take an invitation. It may not be a designer invitation, or it could be a designer invitation. It really is about working with your client to find out what their style is, what their desires are, what their vision is, and kind of work within the scope of their budget. Ultimately, the best thing to do is be upfront about your budget, because that's how somebody in the invitation business, almost in any field of any of the vendors, when we know your budget, we can work better with you, because we can hone in and show you something that will work within the confines of what your abilities are. So if we know that the invitation budget is X dollars, I'm going to work with you to find something that will suit your style, suit your event,
Yeah,
and suit your budget. So you're kind of hitting all three areas. But I mean, ultimately, you really want to make sure that you're honing in on what they need and what they can afford.
So my question is, one of the questions, and that actually leads in perfectly to one of the questions we got, was, where did I put it? Can you combine a save the date and an invitation?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know quite what that means, because I feel like, one's a save the date, and if you just sent the invitation, isn't that a save the date?
So what I would recommend to that person is, let's set it up like an invitation. Therefore, it will be your invitation. And on the reception card, or actually even on the reception card or the respond card, you can ask people to provide you with their telephone number and or email address. This way you can get into them and contact them. And I would probably recommend email. It's probably the easiest. You can send out an email to all of your guests, say, please check our website. And then your wedding website will have the updated information. So therefore, if you need to change your date, you have that ability to do so very quickly and very easily.
And that's important, because, you got to get that information in case something like this happens again. So Brooke, you had a thought?
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the green, and to me, and I think this is gonna push all of us in this industry, everybody that's on this live right now. We all have an important role to play in event and wedding planning. And what do they say about green? Stay green. When you're not green anymore, you're not learning, you're not pushing boundaries, you're just being stagnant. And with this unfortunate pandemic right now, it's going to push each and every one of us to think outside the box even more than we already do, to come up with concepts and ideas, not only to make things fabulous, but to keep everyone safe and out of harm's way to the best of our ability, and still pull off these amazing 5-star events that we do at all times. So I think it's very important. Unfortunately, in this pandemic, we're doing what we have to do, but as we slowly open up and we do want to get back to work, I miss everybody. I haven't been out of my house in 60 some days now. And but I'm afraid too. It's like, well, you know, I also want to keep myself safe. We have to. But I think this is going to push each and every one of us to come up with new ideas, create new things, and go forward to really, and we're really going to impress our brides and our grooms and our corporate people at that point to really, you know, impress them and give them that wow that they already have with us going further. So I think it's very important, and we can all learn something from this pandemic.
So Brooke, this is what I was showing. I was saying, like, you know, look at what you can do to create like a truly unique visual when it comes to place cards. I mean, look how precious this is.
Oh wow, and that's what I do.
Right?
That's one of my chores.
It's so beautiful, and it's such a great way to, you know, create that green space that we talked about, and about, you know, one of the things that obviously that I don't like about this is that we would probably be picking up 50% of these at the end of the night. But, you know, I think in that whole idea of creating green space, and this goes back to reimagining, and all of this, if you can see, I'm actually trying to like close the loop there, because we're talking about big open spaces, tents, using nature as part of our livelihood and as part of our world. So the idea is giving people space, because during this, confining them, I think, is the thing that's the big danger here. It's about opening the space. What do you think, Tyler?
Absolutely. So I put my thinking cap on.
Yes.
My light bulb went on.
Come on, All-Star.
Oh, look at you and your little light bulb.
Yes, this is my favorite thinking cap. Brooke actually brought up a good point. This is something that I've been thinking about is, you know, when this whole thing started, we all kind of went into this total shock mode, and then everyone panicked. We were losing all of our dates, all of our appointments, all of our contracts and so forth. But through all this, we've kind of had a rest. We kind of let it go, and we're open to thinking. We're open to reimagining and coming up with new concepts. One of the things that kind of impressed me with this wedding that I'm talking about in Oklahoma is all these brides that have been using this venue, they're actually leaving things behind, and that's very green because it's going to be repurposed. And they actually have a room in this place
like trash?
that you can just go in and pull whatever you need. No.
They're leaving trash behind? Oh, okay. I was like,
no, it's amazing. I mean, it's like, you know, there's, rather than, you know, each
One's
time a bride
trash is another
comes in, they take everything out. There's stuff that they're not going to use anymore, such as votive candle holders or vases or mason jars or slabs of wood, wedding signs, mailboxes for the cards, all kinds of stuff they have in there. And now that they can repurpose this stuff and use it, and that's very green, in my opinion. So
well, I mean, look at this. Look at this. Like this little thing. I mean, I just thought this was so funny. I mean, they use a license plate. You talk about leaving stuff behind.
Exactly. So, you know, they sent me pictures of this shed, and I'm going through and I'm visualizing. So I can take this, and then I can do my thing with it. And we don't have to go out and purchase a bunch of stuff to make an event work. So I think that's a cool idea. Same way, like here, we keep all of our stuff, you know, you see all my things behind me and so forth, and we repurpose it every time for a different use. But yeah, I think in this time, we just need to relax and allow our creative juices to flow. And this goes for the brides too. You know, they can, you know, they get stuck in their head. Oh my God, since they were the first wedding they ever went to, they imagine their princess wedding and what it's going to look like. And it's got to be that way. And they just stress out. Whereas sometimes if we just allow things to roll with the punches and we get a little more creative and go deep into our thinking caps, we can create something more special, more beautiful, and more meaningful for that couple.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, you know, think about what's more precious, what represents the two of you. You know, there's alternate things you can do to have your ceremonies, like we talked about campgrounds and beaches and rooftops and barns and, you know, back of tractors. Who knows? There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can do to be creative. You can go out to the Everglades. You can go out, you know, even further and jump out of an airplane and get married. And then your receptions can be a little bit different now. So I suggest that everyone kind of relax. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. And for us to succeed, survive, and be happy, we just have to get creative and reach deep into our hearts and figure out what's going to be the most meaningful for us. Not what we perceive it's supposed to be, what weddings have always been. Now let's get a little more creative. Let's get greener. Let's get friendlier. Let's
Well,
I
so
we're always friendly, darling.
Yeah, we're all friendly. But one of the things I'll just so you know, we have several people in our Zoom audience, and Kathy Fox from Riverside was saying that they have a bridal closet, that the items that are left from other weddings, they allow future weddings to, you know, rummage through them and find
that's
things.
exactly what I'm talking about. Yes.
Right. I feel like that's kind of what you're doing. And again, when we talk about being green, about being able to save money, if we as an event industry started doing that more, you know, and we're not talking about big items. We're talking about, you know, votive candles. I mean, I don't know how many times that Brooke and I have reused votive candles for
the devil card. Oh, stop! Stop it right now. I do not miss any of that at this moment. Well, maybe I do a little bit, but I mean, I'm still not that mad.
Yeah. Well, but you know, but Nichole's built a whole business on this, you know, a concept of reuse, recycle, relive.
Nichole has. Oh my God. I could have.
Well, have you seen my hoarders?
Remodeled. She has it all, ladies and gentlemen. I thought your warehouse, Keith, was great.
Yeah.
But oh my God. I went into one of Nichole's. Oh.
Well, and so Nichole, like, what's the craziest thing that somebody's ever asked you to like recycle, relive, like, you know, that they've asked you to keep and reuse, and that worked? Let's say that it worked, because that's at the end of the day. Because, you know, we have people that are saying, oh, can you donate the flowers to you know, old folks home? And it's like, yeah, they will, but then you have to worry about pollen and allergies and all those things. So,
well,
you know.
I love the old and I love the past, and I'm a big fan of, but some of the things that we have in our inventory that, you know, can get reused in so many different ways and that we do all the time are trunks, globes. You know, people love steamer trunks of all different sizes. You know, they can be used as cake tables, they can be used as seating, they can be used as coffee tables, they can be used as decor. We have a huge collection of vintage circus things that actually came from a vintage circus, like a real cannon and elephant jewels and all that kind of stuff. And people love those. They can't get enough of the whole, like, kind of, you know, whether it's a photo op or kind of just to create interest. But, you know, we prefer the crazy requests, honestly, because they're more fun.
They really are.
We
They
prefer
really are.
Who don't want to be cookie cutters, you know, who just want to go out there and put their own stamp on it.
Well, so I'm going to pull up a picture, because and the reason I love this picture so much is because it's so simple and yet so chic and beautiful. I mean, I love that this is very simple. You could totally see this in an outside meadow, you know, with the forests all around them, and then this very simple, beautiful, chic table. And if you look at the silverware is bamboo silverware. So
plates,
you know,
and plates.
So it's like a whole single-use green environment, 100% from start to finish. Yet I feel like I mean, I would love to be invited to this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, and so that's the other thing is that, and we're about to get into unfortunately, some boring stuff here, because we got to answer some other questions. So I'm going to wrap that up really quick. I think that green is here to stay. I think that big spaces, lots of spaces between people is no longer a bad thing. It used to be like, oh my God, I don't want the place to feel empty. And now it's okay to make it feel empty as long as people are having a good time. I mean, how about, what do you guys think about the idea that this is our new world, right?
It will be for a while.
New world, but I also think that we're going to be seeing a little bit of punch of color, because the vibrant, bright colors bring happiness and joy. I think that's going to also kind of go hand in hand with the greenery.
You know, I'm wearing a flower jacket, so I was kind of.
Listen, we didn't plan this, by the way.
No, we didn't plan this. Yeah,
I was like I almost
my
wore
little
green.
flower
Actually. That
jacket.
was the original plan. So, good job, Fluffy.
So okay, so we're gonna. So I'm actually gonna bring up something fun. All right, so I'm going to actually bring up something funny first, and then we'll talk about cancellation policies and what people have been having to deal with. I mean, us as vendors, talking about it on the vendor side, and then also like, what are we seeing with other vendors, and share with our guests like how that's working out for them. But first, I want to bring up this. So this is at the Orange County, or County of Orange County, I think. Anyway, this is the Honda Classic Stadium, and they have put out these little ticket booths out in the parking lot, and this is where they're doing wedding ceremonies. So where you used to go to City Hall, and you'd stand in line and you'd get your marriage license and stuff. They've now done it like this.
Yeah, I say no to that.
She shut it down. She said, I say no to that.
She says, well, no, I mean, it's actually become a thing. Hold on,
She
I'll show
said,
you.
pink hair, don't care.
Yeah. Well, I saw too that some of these clowny kirks are doing Zoom meetings like with their people, and they're even going to be able to do weddings on like Zoom.
Right.
But yeah, no, I would probably say no to this. I wouldn't be that desperate.
Well, some people are seeing it as a way to be socially distancing responsible. So I just, not everybody's gonna. Well, that's what the whole purpose of this panel is, that not all of us are gonna enjoy it. I love the hell out of this. I thought it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, set me up, right? I mean, how quickly can we get those weddings out? I'd be like this. Wedding done, moving on. But all right, so let's talk about something nobody wants to talk about. Let's talk about cancellation policies and move policies. So, what I'd like to do is ask each of you what your cancellation policy is first, and then talk about, how you're handling the current circumstances. And then maybe each of us can talk about somebody, and not naming names, but, how is somebody else handling their cancellation policy that you either agree with or disagree with? So I'm going to start with Marci, because, she's
Okay,
like, great.
No, that's fine. Actually, I do not have a cancellation policy because I have a hard good policy. I have a hard good item that is personalized. So once I put an order in, I'm on the hook to pay for that product as a vendor.
Right.
So I have to pass that cost on to my clients. It's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with personalized items, invitations. They're items that are created especially for your event, and they cannot be repurposed.
Right.
So there's no ability to resell them or change the date or anything of that nature. The only thing I could say to people is, maybe we can add a sticker on it to say,
Change of date.
save the date, or something of that nature, where it's going to tell your client, your guests, that things are changing and to keep an eye out for the updates on their website. But I don't have the ability to refund or to even give a partial refund because I have to pay for it already. So.
Yeah. What about you, Nichole? I mean, I know this actually happened to you at the beginning of all this. Like, you were in the midst of building stuff.
Yes.
And yeah, I know. I'm like, I've just plucked that right out. Here, let me push on that sore. Sorry about that. Yeah, here, let me throw some salt.
Our policy is pretty much the same, and it stays the same. Custom things like Marci speaking, things that we're making specially for you. That's a one-of-kind, one-off, is payment in advance, and it's non-refundable because it's, like she said, it's not an opportunity. But most of the time we try to offer flexibility with our clients because life happens. You're planning, but life happens.
Right.
So with most of us, I think most of the industry require a 50% deposit when we book, which may or may not be refundable, depends on the circumstances, but most of the time it is not. But it can be moved to another date as long as that date can be. So that's typically what we do. If someone's given a deposit for an event and that event can't happen on that date because something has happened. I've had instances, where someone has passed away or this or that or the other thing has happened and they can't.
Right.
The date has to change. We just move it to another date. We like to say, don't cancel, just postpone, and we'll go to another date.
But do you is there a fee to relocate, or like
No,
one of the things that's happening now obviously is that some people are moving to 2021. So the dates that we originally had, like let's say in October, they're now using October 2021. So the funds that I had allocated for 2020 are now being moved to 2021, but I'm still losing that money, right?
right.
But
Well, I had an instance with a client who they had paid for an event and the event couldn't happen because of an issue, and over a year later, and we just honored it. The only time that we couldn't would be in the event that something was specifically constructed for a particular time frame and it couldn't move. Obviously nobody wants to change things, and that's life, and life happens. I think most people in the industry that I've seen have been very accommodating. I've heard some horror stories about people who have not, but I think most in the industry have been just willing to postpone it to a new date. And we expect the clients to be a little bit flexible with us too. If we've spent money to build things for your event and now that event's not going to happen for a year now, so be it. But ask for a refund would be a little bit difficult for all businesses in that circumstances.
well, what about you, Tyler? I mean, you're in the floral industry and decor industry as well. I mean, what do you do for cancellations? Have you been? I mean, obviously unprecedented times, but there is business is business.
Yeah, I got hit like Nichole. I was actually loading my truck for a big event in New Orleans on a Thursday evening. Get a call at 5:30 at night that the event had been canceled.
Oh,
Now this is we were leaving the next day to drive there. What I ended up with is a real big problem with the product. We had ordered $5,000 worth of fresh florals,
right.
that ended up in a dumpster. But
Oh,
luckily,
Dumpster
yeah.
diving, honey.
dumpster diving. I would totally be dumpster diving. I'd be like,
that's very unfortunate, and luckily this particular client is a corporate client, and they tend to, their hearts are not in it the way a social event might be.
right.
So we're going to be able to move that event and credit them towards the next event. With social events, I kind of just follow my heart. I'm like, I tend to not try to spend people's money ahead of time because anything could happen. I've had fathers pass away at rehearsal dinners the night before and stuff like that. There's not much you can do at that point because everything's made, everything's done. And, once that's done, you can't really refund it.
Right.
But in this instance, I refunded every event that asked for it. And it's hurt.
I mean,
it's been tough, but I can sleep at night.
You literally just made me
to
sweat. I just literally was sweating when I was like refunding.
Yeah.
He fell
And
into the dumpster.
it's really
honey.
tough because with any industry, with any business, the money is a cash flow thing. So deposits are used, to keep the business running, especially for us that are in seasonal events.
Right.
It's a cash flow issue. But when things like this happen, it's tough. But we have really, in the whole 30-something years that I've been doing this has been a very rare occasion. But I do think forward, we as an industry professionals need to really look at this and find out what we need to do for national disasters and stuff like this, because this could be a new norm. It could be something, this stuff can rear up, and we're going to be looking, we're worried about the fall even now. I get nervous, taking deposits on something that's going to be in October, and we don't know what's going to happen. And if I spend that money, then they want their money back. What do I do? So, it's a tough situation, but I tend to, as a professional, I follow my heart and I try to do the best for the clients. Most people have been very, very understanding, and they're going to try to reschedule their events, but that's becoming a problem too, because the venues are all sold out until the following year. So
and that's actually why we've been telling people about reimagining your event, is thinking about it on a Friday, thinking about it on a Sunday, thinking about it on a brunch, do something in order to not cancel that event, still get your money, because I guarantee you that, hotels are going to have to start becoming a little bit more forceful about their cancellation policy. And, they're not going to take a Saturday wedding that was in August and put it in February on a Saturday, because those are two different revenue requirements. I mean, the ballroom for a minimum for let's say a Conrad is $50,000 in February, if it's that cheap, And in the summer, you might get away with 30,000 or 25,000. So, you know, when we talk about
They got away
dates,
with that awful wallpaper, honey. So.
yeah, right, exactly. But you know, but if you're gonna figure out a way to move your date, you know, when you're talking about adjusting your reality, I think that's the other thing is that we have to make sure our clients understand is that, you know, there is a financial piece to this, and it's really important that we try to balance the humanity against the finances. You know, one of the bands just recently, just today, actually, I was going to charge me a $4,500 change fee. And I mean, I was like, $4,500 change fee to move to October of next year. You know, it was October of this year.
I want it all in pennies.
Yeah, right. Give it to them all in pennies. Yeah, unfortunately, they already have the first deposit. But you know, when it comes to that, it's like every single vendor I have spoken to up until this point has been amazing. They've just been like, absolutely, you know, let's find a date, because you know we are in unusual times. And this unfortunate band stated that they that, you know, unless it's a government shutdown, that they couldn't give us a deposit 100% back. Oh, it's so hard, because I also see the business side of it, because, you know, they can't book another, you know, if we take October of next year, they just lost out on, you know, 16,000, 20,000 of revenue and additional revenue. So, you know, how do you find the balance? I mean, it's obviously a case by case basis, but you know, where do we draw the line when it comes to this?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's tough.
Everybody's
That's
like,
tough.
I don't want to answer this. I don't want to answer this. Well, Brooke,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on this, Brooke? Tell me.
I'm not good at drawing, but I sure can do a little bit of paint. Well, I want final thoughts, so I'm gonna kind of recap all the way through. But so we're gonna leave me out of this one. Next.
Like, nobody wants to answer this question.
I will
and
answer it. I will.
Well,
Okay,
hey,
Marci. Yeah, Marci,
No.
you tell it. Tell me.
I think that there just has to be some realism here that we are, you know, we're in the business to help and guide our clients, and we need to sometimes educate them a little bit more than the normal client, you know, than the client that we're typically used to, because we are in unprecedented times. So we may have to give them a little bit more of an education as to why is it more money on a Saturday night in February than it is in August.
Right.
You know, these are things that we're just going to have to take on a little bit further. And, you know, policies are going to have to, like you said, they are going to have to eventually stick, but we do try to be as flexible as we can. I try not to put an invitation order in somebody if they're planning really far out. I'll say, well, let's put this one on the burner for now, and we can revisit it as we get closer, because I don't want them to be on the hook if they change their event date or something.
Yeah.
But by the same token, once I put an order in, then of course, you know, then at that point we have to move forward with it, and we have to make adjustments if need be by adding something or enhancing it to help the situation down the road.
Yeah.
But going back to your question, it really is about educating our clients.
And I think a lot of people don't do a great job of that. They want to sugarcoat it. They don't understand the financial side of it, which is why I'm a big fan of having an event planner like myself, or, you know, somebody like Brooke or Nichole, or somebody, an event professional that is in your world that will tell you what the real world is about. You know, a lot of people don't understand minimums and contracts and you know, the fact that, you know, catering people, you know, obviously want to do everything they can to help you, but they've got sales goals that they have to meet. And just because you've moved your date doesn't help them get their sales goals. So they're going to try to do everything they can. Now, Kathy from Kathy Fox Riverside from Riverside Hotel was saying that she does it by case basis. So, you know, it's, the Riverside Hotel is actually still dealing with it on a case basis. And this is one of those moments, guys, that I feel like you get more with honey than vinegar.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honey with a stick, darling. Honey with a stick.
Honey with a stick. You know, and at the end of the day, it goes back to the
firm, so.
right. You have to be firm, but you know, at the end of the day, if it comes down to it, it's going to come back down to that contract, and that's why it's so important before you sign a contract that you understand all the pieces in it, every single piece, right? So you know, let's get away from this. This is so sad. Oh, look at you and your drink.
It's pink. It's pink champagne. It matches my hair.
Oh, I love
Yay!
it.
Well,
And you only have a half bottle.
highlights.
But you know what? We got an interesting thing. I'm going to go back to the mask thing. So somebody was coming through with an idea for the mask, and they're like, "Why don't we do an old time masquerade party?"
Beautiful.
Like,
I love it.
the old dress up
Fabulous.
masquerade party. And I thought, what a fabulous idea. I mean,
Except the
because
mask is on the face instead of the eyes.
well,
You could
because
do both.
yeah, you could do both. But you know,
Full face.
oh look, yeah,
Invitation can be a mask.
but you know, it used to be that the masks used to cover your entire face. The whole idea was that people didn't know who you were.
Well,
I mean,
remember-
that was the idea.
Some of you are old enough to remember the Halloween masks back in the day where they only had like the eyes and the little nose and you could barely breathe. Remember? They were very,
Yes, I
they were
remember
very
that.
suffocating. Are we going back to that?
Yeah, but you know, there were the plastic masks. No, but I think that if you're gonna reimagine, especially if you're talking about an October wedding, I mean,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I mean, there's
Yeah, I love it.
ways,
All in.
right? Oh God, you would be all in. You'd be like, dress up time. What color is my hair gonna be? Tyler, what color is your hair gonna be?
Any color you can imagine.
Feel like a little sidewalk chalk would help out there, you know. Well, you know, I've gone through my second Corona haircut, so I'm ready to let it grow out. For God's sake.
I know you didn't look like that the other day, darling, when you dropped off
I
my
know.
cigarettes.
I know, right? It's like,
In my
you know.
favorite style.
I cut my own bangs. They're finally growing out.
Wait,
They
did
were
you
really
cut?
bad.
Did you cut your own bangs? Is
Yeah,
that
I
what happened
did.
here?
They were like this, standing up. They were really.
Oh my God. Okay.
This is
so-
my Vietnamese Sia look.
Oh, I love it. See ya. All you need is like a big bow to cover your mouth, and then you'll be right there.
China Beach.
All right. So we've talked a lot today about all the different possibilities about how somebody could go about reimagining their wedding. I think at the end of the day, it's really important that we provide hope to our clients, that we give them some options. You know, we're all going to run into that person that, you know, need, and this is one of the things that I actually wanted to bring up. I think it's really important that we stay honest with our clients, and that we tell them exactly, and we don't sugarcoat it, exactly how we think that the world is going to be at that time. And let them mourn the old idea first. You got to let people mourn, because if you don't get past the sadness, you're not going to be able to get through to the joy. And I feel like a lot of us, we're such people pleasers. We just want people to be happy, that I think sometimes we forget that we got to let people go through and be human. Yeah. You guys agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, but be there and be that source of strength for our clients, and make sure that you give them all the choices possible, and that you help them. And then when it gets down to a moment of cancellation, you know, walk through that contract with them, just so that they know what all their options are, and to make sure that they're, you know, be their advocate. At the end of the day, my job is to be their advocate, you know, and each of us, it's about to be our advocate for our clients. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm actually going to toss it to Brooke for some final thoughts, and then I'll wrap it all up. So Brooke, final thoughts.
I want to touch on a few things. You know, because of what the theme of the show is, the cancellations and whatnot, and behind the scenes, you know, we're not thinking about our makeup artists. We're not thinking about our hairstylists and those kind of things too. And had I been more on top of things and prepared, I'm sorry, Keith, I would have had 2 more guests with us to talk more about that. But maybe we'll speak on that, and maybe we can throw them in here. My personal hair stylist actually was. My DMs are like flooded right now. So now that I've actually done something and put it on Facebook. So 2 things. It's a very scary time, right? And once you conquer fear, you can conquer anything. So we have to be vigilant. And I have a little quote I want to say that I kind of live by. And it says, "I believe everything we have is borrowed. We should treasure it and be grateful while it's only a loan. Do not expect or demand it, and it will be more like a gift Besides, we are only here for a short while. It will be returned someday. And that is by the notorious Miss Erica Andrews, rest in peace. Miss National, International, everything. That's some of my pageant background. So those are the final thoughts I'm going to leave everybody with, because I think they're positive and they're amazing in this tough time. So.
And I think at the end of the day, it's really about making sure that our guests and our clients have hope, and that we, again, stay honest with them, stay true, postpone, don't cancel. You know, we will get through this, and it literally will be on a case-by-case basis. And I'm going to just finish with Kathy really quick, because she said she would rather postpone and keep the number at 150 people rather than keep the date and only have 50 people. And that, I think, is actually something for people to consider as well. If you're gonna postpone it because you want more guests and that you want to make sure people feel comfortable, that's a personal choice, and I think that's something that you need to make. Everybody needs to make the decision that is best for them. And then once you make the decision, move forward boldly. Don't hesitate, because anything is worse is shaky, shaky, shaky. I mean, at the end of the day, a hurricane could hit us and we would still have to do all of this anyway. So don't worry about moving it if something happens later.
There is still life out there.
There is still life out, and we're proof of it. So, okay, I just want to say thank you, Marci Guttenberg with An Affair to Remember by Marci. Thank you very much. Nichole with CLE Events, CLE Events. We love you, love you. Tyler Black with Cache Events. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And of course, my lovely Brooke Logan Stoner. For, you know, I'll bring you all. I'll bring you toilet. I'll bring you toilet paper and paper towels later. Okay. All right, everybody. See you
next Tuesday, darling.
See y'all next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you.
Love you. Bye.